What happens when a simple lease turns into a night of raw, unexpected passion? In the quiet space between landlord and tenant, between loneliness and desire, a connection sparked that changed everything. One breathless evening broke every rule. Before I unravel that night, have you ever felt desire flare in the most unexpected places? Take a deep breath. Hit like, subscribe. It keeps these stories alive. Let's dive in. When I rented out the upstairs apartment in my Seattle home, I wasn't looking for more than extra cash to cover the mortgage. The place was too big for me alone after the divorce, and honestly, I liked the idea of someone nearby even if they weren't truly with me. When I met Henry, I knew he was exactly the tenant I needed. Mid-50s, salt and pepper hair, strong hands, and a quiet charm that put me at ease. He worked mornings at a downtown bakery, carried himself with a calm that said he'd seen enough of life to never get rattled. He moved in the next weekend, and from the start, Henry was thoughtful. Every Friday, he'd bring me fresh pastries, still warm, buttery, perfect. A little extra, he'd say, his smile hinting he was trying harder than he let on. He fixed my leaky faucet without me asking, cleaned the gutters after the first big rain, even helped me put up a bookshelf I'd bought on a whim. And God, the way he smelled fresh bread coffee, a hint of cedar, made my stomach flutter every time I passed him on the stairs. At first I brushed it off, just harmless attraction. It had been years since I'd been with anyone, and Henry was mature, not flashy, just quietly, undeniably magnetic. But one night I caught him in a tank top fixing the garden gate. Shoulders broad, sweat, gleaming muscles, flexing as he worked. I couldn't stop staring. That's when the spark turned into something primal, something I couldn't ignore. That Friday, I was a nervous wreck, setting the table, heart pounding with anticipation. Henry had asked about dinner earlier that week, his brow quirking like he was surprised to be invited. Just a small thank you, I'd said, playing it cool, though my intentions were anything but innocent. I wore a simple black dress, nothing too obvious, but enough to remind him I wasn't just his landlord. When he walked into the dining room holding a bottle of red wine, his eyes lingered on me, throat bobbing as he swallowed. I knew I'd made the right choice. We ate, drank, laughed. Henry told stories about his time at the bakery, how he'd learned from his grandmother, the quiet joy he found in working with his hands. His calm was soothing, almost made me forget my plan. As dessert, his peach pie neared its end, my heart thumped. I couldn't pretend anymore. "Henry," I said softly, voice steady despite the nerves buzzing under my skin. "Want to stay a bit longer?" I wasn't sure how he'd react, but when he stood, closed the small distance between us, and kissed me firm, confident, like only an older man could, I knew I'd played it right. His hands, strong but gentle, pulled me close, like he'd been waiting for this as long as I had. "I want you," he whispered against my lips, voice low, rough, sending a shiver through me. In the bedroom, my pulse raced, body humming with anticipation. Henry didn't rush. He stood at the bed's edge, eyes dark burning, making me tremble. "Take it off," he said, voice low, commanding, hands on his hips. I wasn't used to being told what to do in the bedroom, but it sent a thrill down my spine. My hands shook as I reached for my dress's zipper, slowly sliding it off my shoulders, letting the fabric pool at my feet. Standing there in lace, Henry's eyes darkened. "Beautiful," he whispered, stepping closer, a finger trailing down my arm. "Lie down." He guided me to the bed movements, unhurried, savoring every second. His lips traced a path from my mouth to my jaw, lingering just below my ear, each touch deliberate. His hands explored with a tenderness that made me feel vulnerable, yet cherished. When we came together, it wasn't rushed, just a steady rhythm like a wordless conversation. Henry moved with quiet intensity, holding me like I was something precious. The connection was deep, overwhelming in the best way. When it ended, I lay there breathless, thinking it was over. But Henry wasn't done. As I lay on the bed, body still humming from our first encounter, Henry's voice pulled me back. "Come here," he said, warm but commanding. I sat up, and before I could process, he lifted me, settling me onto his lap, strong hands holding me steady. My knees brushed his thighs, the closeness electric. His kiss was deeper, hungrier, lips moving down my neck, pausing at the pulse racing beneath my skin. I shivered as his hand slid across my back, pulling me closer until no space remained. This time his movements were fiercer, hands gripping my waist, guiding me in a rhythm that built steadily until I couldn't hold back. My hands clutched his shoulders, a wave of sensation crashing over me. When it ended, I rested my forehead against his, thinking that was surely it. But Henry's eyes still sparked. The night wasn't over. When he reached for me again, I was sure my body couldn't keep up, but his steady presence gave me new energy. He guided me to my knees, hands light on my shoulders, sending a shiver through me. "Trust me," he whispered, voice soft but sure. His lips found the nape of my neck, and I melted under his touch. His hands slid to my hips, holding me with a strength that felt grounding. Each movement was deliberate, intimate, yet thrilling, never rushed or careless. His lips returned to my shoulder, placing soft kisses as his hands steadied me. The tension between us built, each motion pulling me closer to the edge. When I collapsed onto the bed, trembling from the intensity, Henry leaned down, kissing the back of my hand, his breath warm against my skin. I was sure I couldn't move an inch, but he wasn't done. He pulled me into his arms, his touch gentle yet firm. "Let's take it slow," he said, voice tender. He held me close, body pressed to mine. As we lay side by side, his fingers brushed a strand of hair from my face, his care surprising me. His kiss was unhurried, lips lingering like he wanted to memorize the moment. There was a quiet intensity in how he held me, his hands tracing soft patterns on my skin, each kiss a whisper, a reminder this wasn't just passion, but connection. I let myself sink into it, the steady warmth of his touch, the way his breath mingled with mine. When we reached the peak, it was gentle like waves lapping at the shore. As dawn's first light crept through the blinds, casting a soft glow across the room, I was utterly spent. Henry touched me again, so gentle I couldn't say no. He pulled me to lie on my sidearm around my waist, kissing the nape of my neck. One more time, he whispered, voice a soft promise. There was no rush, just reverence, his hands on my hips guiding me with steady care. His lips brushed my ear, breath warm, comforting. As we moved together, the world outside faded, leaving only the quiet intimacy of the moment. When we finished, it wasn't with fireworks, but with deep satisfaction, like we'd shared something bigger than the sum of its parts. I woke to sunlight filtering through the blinds, the smell of coffee filling the air. My body ached in the best way, a reminder of the night we'd shared. Henry was in the kitchen, humming softly, flipping pancakes. He turned, face lighting up with a boyish smile. "Morning," he said, handing me a mug of coffee. My fingers brushed his as I took it, smiling back. Morning. Sitting at the table, sipping coffee, watching him move around the kitchen, I felt a deep calm. Henry wasn't just a tenant anymore. He was something more, something I hadn't known I'd missed. Whatever the future held, I knew one thing: I didn't regret a single moment of that night. Desire doesn't always come as expected. When have you found connection in the most unexpected moments? Share below, hit like, subscribe, and let's celebrate the twists that change our lives.